Hello everyone, I'm Rob Daugherty, and it is with great pleasure that I introduce a new program called Spokane County Spotlight. Each month the program is going to highlight some of the many programs, projects, and services provided by Spokane County government. And my guest today is Spokane County Commissioner Al French, who represents the Commission District 3, but also, of course, the entire area. And Commissioner French, first of all, welcome to the show. Nice to have you today. You know, it may surprise some people to know that, you are really in the economic development business as well, trying to attract companies to the area, trying to attract more jobs to the area. And that's what we really want to talk about today is economic development. So with that, go ahead and educate all of us on how involved the county is in that.
Well, thank you, Rob, and thank you for being here. And you're right. A lot of times we hear political candidates talk about, how they're going to attract new jobs and new businesses to the area, even though they've never done it in their private lives. And so, when we look at the role of county commissioners, we are actually directed by state mandate to engage in economic development. In fact, it's in state statute, RCW 36.01.085, that says economic development, and it shall be in the public purpose for all counties to engage in economic development programs. In addition, counties may contract with nonprofit corporations to furtherance of this and other acts relating to economic development. So, it's not just a political aspiration. It is part of our job.
So, looking at that, it's essentially because you really view this then as an absolutely critical part of county government.
I do, and the economic vitality, the ability to support a tax base and everything is driven by our ability to create jobs, and that's by making sure that we have a healthy economy here locally.
I've lived here for something like 30 years, I think now, and it's hard to think about even living somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, and when we look at the role of government, my philosophy about economic development is, to provide an infrastructure and a regulatory climate that encourages economic growth and expansion while at the same time protecting our quality of life and the environment. That's critical because a lot of folks that, like you indicated, have come to the area because the great environment, terrific quality of life. We've got terrific recreational opportunities, lakes, rivers, great school systems, a whole variety of different assets here in the region that have attracted us here and want to keep us here.
It's, I have people that visit from all over the country here, and I hear constantly how beautiful they think this area is with the lakes and the mountains and everything that we have here. And I think it's very attractive to other people and to help attract businesses as well to this area. Commissioner French, tell us, what exactly is it that you focus on then in trying to improve economic development in this area?
Well, we look at what are the elements for the county that would be attractive to the business community and stuff. And so it's not just Spokane County, it's the whole region. And so when you look at the inland Northwest, here's some just simple statistics that the Greater Spokane Incorporated has provided for us. The inland Northwest includes 23 counties and 3 states, over 1 million people in population, 39,000 square miles of land area, $18.1 billion in after-tax income, $13.6 billion in retail sales, and $24.4 billion in gross domestic product. I mean, that's a significant impact, and it's a big driver. We're the largest community between Seattle and Minneapolis-St. Paul, so we attract a large area to this. Then when you look at some of the other advantages for why you'd want to have a business here in Spokane, cost of living, 6% lower than the national average, according to the ACRA Q1 2013 report. Business cost, 18% lower than the national average, according to Moody's. Housing, $171,000 is the median home price. So for Washington, and that's from the Washington Center for Real Estate Research. Our commute time, and this is critical when you compare us to the other side of the state. Commute time, 6th best commute time in the nation.
That's a lot better than Seattle.
That's a lot better than Seattle. And then safety. 6th lowest national disaster rate. So when you compare Spokane with communities on the West Coast that have to deal with hurricanes and storms, when you talk about Tornado Alley in the central United States, or the East Coast that has to deal with hurricanes, when you look at, from our standpoint, here in Spokane County, we're one of the 6th safest communities in the United States.
And you know, with the highlight being on all of these natural disasters we seem to be having lately, that is becoming more of a concern among people, isn't it?
It is, very much so. And then when you look at, you know, what are the specifics that attract the business community? Since 2005, the region's population employment growth has grown at double the pace of the national average. Spokane ranks 149th out of 392 for metro areas for growth. So we are poised and ready for a significant job increase and expansion here in this economy. The Inland Northwest is projected to have a higher than average growth rate in the housing market in the next 20 years. Over 70,000 students study within a 75-mile radius of Spokane. And that's critical because when you look at that new young employee that will help drive and grow a business, that educational background is significant. And we're one of the few communities on the western side of the United States that has that kind of population of students right in our backyard.
Well, you don't think about that. 70,000 students in this region. I mean, that's quite a few students.
And then Spokane County is the healthcare and research hub for the Inland Northwest, the largest concentration of medical services between Seattle and Salt Lake, Minneapolis, and Calgary, Canada. And then finally, the largest job holder age group is 25 to 34 years old. So that's critical because as you look at the economy and as baby boomers like myself start to look for retirement, you need that younger personnel, that younger employee with the creative new ideas and cutting edge thinking to help continue to stimulate the economy. And we have those people located here in Spokane.
So when you take all of this together, how do you and the others who are involved in economic development in this area, how do you package all this together and then go out and try to sell it to a company or to a certain industry that you're trying to attract to this area? How do you do that, and what things do you point to?
Well, when we look at economic development for the Board of County Commissioners, and I must say that this board and the previous board with Commissioner Richard on it is very much focused on economic development, and so we are all very much invested into this. But we look at, you know, one, protecting our key assets for the region, and that's one, as we indicated earlier, our environment and our quality of life. Have to protect that. That's one of the big attractors to the area. Spokane International Airport, that's owned collectively between the City of Spokane and Spokane County. We each own 50% of that. Big asset. We need to protect that asset for the region. And then Fairchild Air Force Base, which is the largest single-site employer in the county, represents $1.3 billion of economic activity to the county. So we have to protect that. So then when you look at that, then what else? What are the other attributes that we have to promote economic job growth in our economy? And one's promote county's workforce and business-friendly approach. You know, in the last couple of years, not only has the county become much more crisper about how we deliver governmental services, including streamlining the permitting process so that a business can come in and get a permit and get under construction, get into business quicker. Not only have we focused on that, all of our cities have also focused on that. It actually is a little bit of a competitive kind of a climate, which is healthy because we're all trying to do better. And the better we are, the better our services are for the business community. You know, Caterpillar, which I had the privilege of leading the board's effort in terms of getting Caterpillar here in this community, we were able to permit that 600,000 square foot building in 2 weeks. Wow. That's unheard of. Yes, 2 weeks. And it's just a tribute to the fact that if you empower your employees, they can do great things. So then the other thing we did is we updated our zoning and development regulations. If you don't have the right regulations in place so that you can help enable business to happen, it won't happen, and they'll go somewhere else. So we've tried to harmonize the zoning ordinances between the city and the county so that we're seamless in terms of the boundaries. As I mentioned earlier, streamlining our permitting process, and then actively participating with our regional partners, whether it's with the cities in the county or whether it's with Greater Spokane Incorporated, the real estate community, business community. All of those are partners with us in terms of attracting new business to the area.
So it sounds like, part of this really is trying to become more business friendly. Is that, would you describe it that way?
Much more business friendly and much more sensitive to the needs of the business community so that we can be responsive. I mean, government is here to serve, and so we've got to understand the needs of our client. So understanding the needs of the client, especially as you're trying to attract businesses, is critical. So as you look at, what is a business looking for when they go through the site selection process? Well, the first thing they want to do is it the right location? Is it the market there? Is it the right piece of property? Does it have the infrastructure necessary to support their business? The right regulations so they can do what they need to do? And again, service. Is the business community, or is the governmental community geared to help support the business community? And so we've tried to really focus on hitting all of those elements. So then, as they go through the site selection process, what the business is looking for is, market identification. And so it used to be when a real estate agent was charged with trying to find a good market, they'd go out and they'd do what we'd call kick in the dirt. Go out to the communities and try and do their research. Well, with this now technological age, a lot of that advanced work is done on the internet. They can go on the internet and they can do a search for development regulations. They can do a search for available sites. They can do a search of business climates. And they can identify all of those things before they ever come to the community. And so if we aren't communicating in a forum that meets their needs, we're missing the boat. I mean, we might never see a site selector if we aren't presenting ourselves in the right format in the right way. So one of the things the county has done in conjunction with our business partners, both in the real estate community and in Greater Spokane Incorporated, is we have what we call the site selector locations. This is a website that you can go to through two different vehicles. You can either go on the SpokaneCounty.org, and it's there, or you can go to Select Spokane. And when you go to that site, it'll identify all the land that's available, buildings that are available for expansion. And so it makes it very easy for those site selectors to be able to come into a community on the internet and say, you know what? Not only do they have the regulations, we actually know where the land is at, where the buildings are at.
You've just made their job a lot easier by doing that.
We make their job a lot easier, and it helps ensure that we'll get that site visit. Because we think that the minute they come to Spokane and they see the quality of life that we have, the environment, the recreational opportunities, they'll fall in love with this area much like we have.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you mentioned that you also are working with some partners on this as well. Can you identify who those partners are? Yeah,
in a climate where everybody is constricted by lack of resources, particularly as it relates to financial resources to support an effort, you have to be able to leverage your relationships. And so we are actively engaged with the leadership for their cities and towns, state and federal agencies, whether it's the Department of Commerce for the state of Washington or federal agencies back in D.C., as well as our delegations, our congressmen and our senators for this region are very, very supportive of a lot of the things that we're trying to do. Greater Spokane Incorporated, the Valley Chamber, the West Plains Chamber, all of those business organizations we partner with. Spokane International Airport, I have the privilege of sitting on the board representing the Board of County Commissioners for the airport, and it's very exciting. I mean, for a long time, the airport has been there, but not really active in terms of attracting new businesses. But now it's very aggressive about going after business, especially since aerospace is one of those industries in the state that, as a state, we've said we need to build our aerospace industry. So Spokane International Airport, big. Fairchild Air Force Base, been a terrific partner with us.
There's still about 5,000 or so
it's actually, with the civilian population, it's almost 6,000 workers on base. So it's a significant contribution to our economy. Then local businesses. We're always following leads. We'll have a businessman will give me a call and say, Al, we've got a hot one here. We need your help to pursue it. And we will engage, and we'll make sure that we do everything we can to attract that business to the area. So what businesses are we focusing on? Industry focus is aerospace, state initiative, and so we are very much a part of that. When you look at Spokane County, we already have 80 Tier 1 and Tier 2 industries in the aerospace sector, part of that Boeing manufacturing supply chain here in Spokane County already, and we're working very aggressively to expand that. Just yesterday, Associated Painters, that paints the airplanes for Southwest Airlines, announced that they are doubling their facilities so that they can paint some of the new Boeing planes coming off the production line.
Any idea how many jobs we're talking about?
I think they're going to ultimately end up with 100 new jobs out there in that facility.
That's great.
Another sector that's big for us is medical research with the new medical school opening up on the University District. We've got our first class going through this fall. Applied sciences, manufacturing facilities, and distribution facilities. Those are the industries that are finding most attractive in the area right now.
Any others that, it must be a long wish list, I'm sure, not only for us here locally, but I imagine nationwide, there's probably a long list. Can you talk about some of the others you'd like? We hear so often about high tech, for example, and people want to attract high tech. What are we doing in that area? You know,
we are very focused in attracting more high tech businesses, and you know, the Liberty Lake is got a very good infrastructure in terms of being able to support that, and so we are engaged in that sector as well. But a lot of our residents in this area are looking for those manufacturing jobs, those very good quality paying jobs that now are becoming more and more computerized. So you need a good education, you need computer skills, and still be on the manufacturing and production line. And then, you know, one of the partnerships that we have here locally is called Air Spokane, and this is a partnership with City of Spokane, Spokane Airport, GSI, and Avista and the community colleges. So we're working with them to, as a group, aggressively go after those aerospace companies. And there's two other companies that we're going through the due diligence with, and we're hoping they will announce here shortly and bring to this community. So that's another exciting opportunity.
So when you, I mean, we always think of Spokane, when we look historically at Spokane, we always think of mining, agriculture, forestry, that sort of thing. I know the landscape as far as the jobs here has changed quite a bit since that time. Do you think we're heading in the right direction? And how do you see that landscape has changed over the last 10, 20 years?
You know, for decades, this economy is based upon extraction industries, you know, whether it's ag, you know, mining or forestry. And we are now much more diverse, and we are engaged in high tech, we're engaged in medical, we're engaged in aerospace. And so we're much more diverse. And the reason why that's important is because the highs and lows aren't nearly as high, they're not nearly as low. But our economy is more stable. And so when you look at just this last recession that we went through, parts of this country were suffering dramatically. We didn't have the same kind of impact here locally, and it's because we're much more diverse, and we're getting much better at this. So.
And when we look at medical, I know you were talking about medical a few minutes ago, I kind of want to go back to that a little bit. That is a huge industry in this area. We provide medical services for a wide area that you know is around Spokane, and with the new you know everything going on in the University District there, I think you know going forward that Spokane's betting big on that. This is going to be something in the years ahead that's going to be you know create a lot of jobs in this area.
It'll not only create the opportunity for our youth that want to aspire to go into the medical industry to be able to get that education here locally, which makes it more affordable for them. They can stay at home with the parents and still be able to go to college and get that medical degree with what's happening out at the University District. But the other thing that does is it brings researchers to the area. And researchers develop new products, those new products develop new businesses, and those are new jobs. So it's an extension of that whole evolution of creating new jobs. And the medical school could easily represent a couple $2 billion worth of economic activity for the region once it's fully up to speed. And interestingly enough, already it's ahead of its projections in terms of students and where they thought they were going to be in terms of attracting those new jobs.
And I know we have other you know groups locally here, for example, CERTI,
yes.
and other groups like them, even some privately funded ones,
right.
And that they have also over the years have been very instrumental in helping to create jobs in this area with startup companies and that sort of thing.
That's right. And you know folks, Fairchild Air Force Base, for instance, you know, I talked about the importance of Fairchild to the economy and those active military servicemen and women. But it actually goes well beyond that because I think the latest number I've seen is that there are 17,000 retirees here in Spokane County, and Fairchild is the #2 base to retire at, second only to Hawaii. Out of the entire inventory of military bases for the Air Force, we're second only behind Hawaii. And so a lot of folks come here with the expectation of retiring from their military career, but then what do? They go in and they start new businesses here in the community. They become part of the business community and stuff. And so, not only is Fairchild as a base important to us, it's also important to us as an incubation for new businesses. The other thing that's critical about Fairchild is that a lot of those men and women that are out there on the base that are learning how to service those tankers, those are Boeing aircraft. And they're coming out of the Air Force with the skills on aerospace industry that they can now take into the private sector and be part of that aerospace sector for us. And so, it's a continuum. And so when you start to connect all of the dots, we are really positioned very well to attract some very good paying jobs to this area. And we're starting to see the results of that. I mean, when we were able to land Caterpillar here, we competed against 22 other communities throughout the United States. And we ended up being selected. The second place community was Hayden Lake over in Kootenai County. This is the first time in 2 decades that I can remember where we actually were able to bring a new business here in Spokane County and not watch it built in another part of the community or the state.
I came out here in 1985, and I must say that over the time since I've been here, another industry that obviously we've seen a lot of growth in this area has been tourism.
Right.
A lot of that, of course, focused in the Coeur d'Alene area, but when you look at Spokane with the Davenport and all those things that have happened in the downtown district, we've seen, I would imagine, some pretty good growth there as well. What do you think we're going to see in the future, and is that an area that you're targeting as well?
Well, it's an area that we're partnering with others in the community to target, and specifically the Public Facilities District and Visit Spokane. They're the ones that are on the front edge of attracting new conventions facilities and visits to the area. And that's a great way to get a new audience to your doors. I in my private practice, I've done work with Dwayne Hagedon over at the Coeur d'Alene Resort. And he uses that convention facility to attract businesses to the area because he knows that once people come to this area, they'll fall in love with this area. And so when you see some of the businesses over in Coeur d'Alene and you kind of wonder, well, how the heck did they get that company over in Coeur d'Alene? Well, it's because an executive came to the resort, played golf on the golf course, or went snow skiing or water skiing on the lakes, fell in love with this area and said, you know what, we need to be here. We need to be in this community. And then they bring their businesses here. And so, we can't overestimate the value of that exposure to new people to the community and what that will mean in terms of attracting new jobs to this area. So with the convention center expansion that's getting underway and all of the new business we'll be able to attract to the area, and the fact that the voters supported that initiative last year, thank you to the voters for being visionary and investing in our own success and our own future, we'll be able to make those kind of connections, and that also will attract new jobs and revenue to this community.
I remember a number of years back I was involved with a startup company here in town, and one of the concerns at that time was attracting engineers from areas like Silicon Valley down in California or other areas of the country into Spokane, although frankly, in all honesty, once they got here they loved it, but getting them here was the problem. And I sense that has probably changed because we've seen more growth now in high tech in the Spokane area. We've seen more of these types of companies, more of these types of people come into the area, and then they of course seem to attract others that come into the area that are, have like types of jobs. So is that in fact the truth? Is that what we've seen?
That is the truth, and that's why 75,000 students within the 70,000 students within 75-mile radius of Spokane, and a good part of those are engineers, advanced degrees. And so as they get those degrees and they choose to stay here in Spokane, and again, you go back to that demographic about the age group of folks that are making up that workforce, they are choosing to stay here locally. And so that's all good news. The other part of the educational side of this, though, is the great work the community colleges are doing in terms of making sure that their curriculum prepares people in this community, especially as we kind of transition from an economy that existed in 2000, in early parts of 2000, to an economy now, a decade later, new skills. You know, and it used to be, for instance, that if you were, for instance, I'll just use an example, if you were on the production line out at Kaiser, you might never have to touch a computer. But when you look at all of the terrific upgrades that they've made out of Kaiser and all of the advancements that they have out there, and now their production line is driven more by computer than it is sweat equity. And that's the changing climate with regard to jobs and job creation. So even if you don't have a 4-year degree, you know, the community colleges are preparing folks to be able to get good quality, livable wage jobs and stay in this market. And so it's all part of the continuum, and we all have to be working together, all carrying our respective parts of the load, so collectively we can make Spokane a better place to live, work, and play. And that's ultimately our goal.
That sure is, and I think it already is, but that's just my opinion. But Commissioner French, we're running out of time, so I want to thank you very much for taking your time, I know, out of a very busy schedule, and helping us all understand how involved the county is in economic development and what all you folks down at the county are doing to help bring more jobs to this area. Thank you so much for all you do.
Well, thank you, and I want to say thank you to you for hosting our first show, and for being able to get us through this in a professional fashion. Thank you very much. I also want to say thank you to Greater Spokane Incorporated that provided a lot of our slides, and also our county staff. So,
okay.
Thank you.
Very good. And thank all of you for watching. We do appreciate it, and we hope that we have been helpful in helping you understand how the county is involved in bringing more jobs to this area. Thanks again. Have a good day.